Hi guys and welcome to an all new video. Today with us we have Sudeep Koshy from DriveMeOnline. Sudeep, thank you for taking the time to come and speak with us.
Hi Sudeep.
Well, hi Anas, hi. And hi Zaran. I mean, in one word, when you ask something like this, of course, it's great. It's exciting to get together and share our views and talk to a common audience. But when you guys ask me something, how can I say no?
Thank you for taking the time to speak
Good
with
man.
us. So, like we said, Sudeep's from DriveMeOnline. Sudeep, would you like to say a little bit about what exactly DriveMeOnline does before we begin?
Of course, always love to speak about it. So I started DriveMeOnline.com. I think probably in today's terms, it was probably the first automotive English blog in the region. But I still would like to call it as a web portal, because I think it was probably the third English portal that was launched in the region, and just driven by passion and nothing else. So it was just having fun writing about it, having fun writing serious stuff. So so you get to meet and talk to a lot of people, and it was quite it was actually meant to entertain people who love cars and help people who buy cars. So being
nice.
and you probably I have a radio show also that helps me on Hit 96.7 FM, which keeps me in touch with the audience. So that is a little bit of expansion of the whole portfolio, gets you in touch with more and more people, which is the whole purpose of the thing. And otherwise, yes, DriveMeOnline being the portal, and there are review channels on YouTube as well. So
it's good you brought up reviewing cars, because I mean, we review pretty much the same cars, once they come into the press fleet, they do their rounds. So we've been driving a lot of similar cars, and we just wanted to kind of take this session to discuss your opinion on what would you say is the best car you've driven in the last year?
Well, as you know, again, you pointed out the parallel as well. So we both know the difficulty in answering that question. It's only because, we both being on the Mikoti panel of jury, we get to drive, say, I mean, how many did we drive from the nominated vehicles? Almost 50 last year?
Yep.
So yeah, and it definitely does take a bit of courage from the manufacturer's part and confidence to nominate a car if it is not good enough, So we get to drive these cars which are award nominees, and out of which we get, just very little time to pick and choose the right ones. And so it is so hard to point out the best or the worst, for that matter. So,
but let's put it this way, like what's a really memorable one you reviewed last year? Forget about being best or worst. Yeah.
Quite a few, in fact, because that is why they've been nominated. Like for example, the Lamborghini. In fact, that was the first time I was driving the Urus as well. The Lamborghini Urus, the Lamborghini, the Huracan Evo GT3 that came out. So all these things, I mean these cars had a lot of raw energy. So, I really loved ripping it. So remember, we had, in fact, it was almost like at a point where the GT3 was chasing the Urus or the other way. So it was a lot of fun as well. So that is, you have cars like this at one end of the spectrum. And the other cars, let me put it this way again. Instead of saying the best cars, the way you said, the most memorable cars, I would say the cars that surprised me.
Yes.
That's a nice
that's another way to put it.
Because if you look at the small segment, there is this little car called the Kia Pegasus that I was driving for the first time. It came up as absolutely a surprise package because it's such a small car. It's a fleet, popular fleet car, I guess. And you tend to see that there are a lot of things that you don't expect in the car, even armrest, man. I mean, at the end, so at the end of it, I was like, oh, this has got enough power. It drives pretty decent. I mean, there's no complaints. It's well put together. No, it's not gaudy at all. So you look at this package, and suddenly you see that, and then I thought, okay, no, there is no armrest. And I'm very particular about armrest. It's a flaw if you don't have a...
You'd hate driving the Jimny. It doesn't have an armrest.
Yeah, I know. So, you know, or else you'll have to put it on a sling, you know, and then, you know. So, and just as I was winding up the review, from the rear, I found that there was something that's sticking up on the side of the car. I mean, the seat. There was an armrest, actually. So,
okay. They had the Land Rover kind of armrest, right?
Yeah, which can be actually
which
I did not expect, because then nothing was actually, I mean, I was not nudging into anything, so I didn't expect that. And so I guess, I mean, if I remember, it's 95 PS, which is pretty decent for such a, you know, car. And imagine it's got a 7-inch screen. So these, but again, all right. Even when I picked this car, which impressed me and surprised me, there's a shortcoming. There are no AC vents in the rear. I mean, it's you drive so many. So if you make, I mean, I make it a point to make the note right then, you know, so that it doesn't get muddled up in your mind. So, so that is one.
Okay. Now, no, but I think you had a great point when you started with the Lambo and then moved to something that surprised you, because when we go into a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or a BMW or one of those luxury cars, you have high expectations to begin with, right?
Totally.
So
yes.
So when it drives well and it has tech and it has power and whatever, you're not surprised. You say, yeah, fine, it's great. It's supposed to have that, and it's worth the money. But cars like, the Kia, maybe the new one, or for me, the Seltos, for instance, the Kia Seltos was a surprise as well, because like you go into a car and you compare it to cars that you know from that segment, and you find, oh, it has this, and it has that, and it has that, and it has that, and you start, like, as you said, like continuously being surprised and surprised and surprised from these smaller budget cars.
In fact, I think, Anas, the secret of a brand's or a model's success comes from this power to surprise. By the way, isn't that Kia's line?
I think that's.
I think so, right?
Really?
So I think
maybe. So they're following their tagline, yeah.
Seriously, what a coincidence! I mean, copyrighted line. Okay, like Kia can keep it. This is my way of putting it. So So, I mean, I think the model you mentioned, Seltos, is doing so well back in India, you know.
Yes,
I think 75% sold out in the first phase itself or something like that.
Wow.
There was some crazy figure there. So that is because of this offering more than going beyond expectations. And, you know, so which is the power to, you know, basically hold as a price. And so that way, yes, these, I mean, many guys have asked me, like, you know, what is the best car that I've driven, or what is the best car? So I said, you're putting the, you know, I would say you're framing the question wrong. What is the best car for you is the question.
Exactly.
What are you looking for? You know,
yes,
I cannot just say this is the best car, buy that.
Yeah.
You know, because you're looking for certain things, and there is this car which answers to your search and goes beyond.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
now,
definitely. I get the question all the time. It's like, what is the best car you've driven, or what's the best? There is no such thing. There is no such thing. There's always the best car for you. Like you said,
absolutely.
Each one of us has his best car. Yeah.
You're just framing it. You know, just go a little further. It is not what is the best car. What's the best car for you? You know, you're missing that time. So, the same goes for the same surprise factor played up when you know, driving the Audi RS5.
Oh yes.
This year, the RS5 was again. You know, see, I think this first impression bit that the old proverb talks about does hold water. Makes sense, because the first time I went there to pick up the car for the review. It was there in this particular color called Nardo Gray, all right? And it was quite the evening. It was closer to the evening when I went there. It was, I mean, we don't have cloudy skies really, here mostly, but whatever little, dusk feel there was, this car was standing out in its nardo gray color, which kind of edged towards slightly bluish gray as the sunset. So, initially, so you start off on a, wow, nice, no. So, and then you get into the car and you see that, all right, it is an RS. So I think 0 to 100 in 5.4 seconds.
We don't know the numbers, but I remember that thing. It was a memorable car.
It's quite a memorable car, right? And then they throw in these little things like 3-zone air conditioning. I mean, enough space for people to sit down and stretch their cars. I mean, legs a bit, So I mean, they're kind of saying that you're not asking for too much when you ask for space in a sport car, sporty car. Yeah. So these are things which kind of leave you impressed, both emotionally and practically, So that again goes into one of the better cars or the memorable cars.
And give me a sound of any Audi RS any time of the day, man. I love the way they sound.
Totally. It is. Talking about sound. Sorry, you were saying something.
So I was going to ask you, at the other end of the spectrum, now that you've told us some of the most memorable cars you've ever driven, what would you say were some of the least memorable, or rather cars that left you kind of wanting more, where maybe you had higher expectations than what they delivered?
Just like we did it to the best car, I think I'll do a little bit of a treatment to that question. But before that, I'd like to mention one car. I mean, in fact, wanted to ask you what do you think of, for me, the Ferrari F8 Tributo also was quite a memorable car.
We haven't driven yet.
The F8 Tributo, I really liked it because there was, yes, of course, I told you I love to rip, both the Lamborghinis we tested on for the Bugatti. But this one had a level of refinement which totally I mean, a few things that really remain in your mind is, it is a turbocharged car. It's a turbocharged Ferrari. Yeah. But with a less than half a second lag, I mean, you absolutely don't feel the lag. I mean, you at a point you tend to wonder, is this actually turbocharged?
Turbo.
So that makes it so you have excitement plus the refinement aspect of it. And I think that car won the engine of the best engine in 20 years or something, right? No, the previous generation. And then they made this as a tribute to that.
Yes,
engine.
I remember them mentioning.
So yeah, so you already said starting off on the right foot. I mean, on the right footing. So that I thought makes the Ferrari F8 Tributo also a good recommendation. So now I will go into the next question.
No, but
the tricky one, the dicey one.
Before we move, like you mentioned, the turbocharged engine. Does the Tributo now make you think it's okay if we lose the big V12s from Ferrari?
See, that's again a very emotional question for a car lover, like all of us to answer. Because I mean, seriously, because it is. If you ask me, I would say it is. I mean, there's no me. These are one of those questions that probably don't have meaning in answering, because they have their path set forward in a particular direction because of certain reasons and regulations. But so you'll only feel more disappointed if you say no. They should, all the way to back. You just,
I say they should move. They should move production to the Middle East and stop worrying about regulations.
But that said, I'm sure, Anas, you would have noticed that last couple of years, the cars that we've been testing, the economy figures have been quite encouraging, even without a turbo. It's almost like the last resistance is on. You know, the
Yeah.
fuel economy, the gasoline-driven cars, the petrol-driven cars are saying, no, not yet time for electrics. You know, we are getting better. So we can actually get there with, you know,
Don't get me started. I have a whole rant about that. So don't get me started.
We'll come to that. We'll talk about it soon. I hope.
Hopefully.
So, shall we move on to the other side?
So the car didn't quite meet your expectation.
Yeah, that's what. So I would say, just like the most memorable were the cars that surprised me most, the other one would be the most disappointing car, you said, right? So to start with, you're getting into these cars on a high expectation because they are, you know, and the point, I think some of us have been reiterating has been that there's no bad car out there. So, you know, it's becoming tougher and harder for us to find flaws in cars, you know, as reviewers who do this every week, every day. The only reason why we guys have our jobs as a reviewer is that the buyers, the seekers, probably will find it a little more hard to find what is wrong, you know, what are the flaws. Because otherwise, it's quite you know. I would say, especially because of these cars being award nominees, I mean, you know, I don't want to be hard on them because it'll be unfair to say that. Like, let's say a good car. Probably I don't remember which won the category, but I might be talking about the winner in the category itself, perhaps. The Lincoln Aviator, all right? The Lincoln Aviator was so absolutely new and stunning and, you know, loaded with all these. I found the Lincoln Nautilus a little bit old school.
True.
Okay,
you know,
true.
so
Yeah.
suddenly you have the impressions that the navigator has left on you. You're looking at a possible, of course, this wasn't a part of the nomination, but still, you know, when we got to see it, it's amazing, stunning. But in comparison, the Nautilus is still getting their changes soon.
Yes.
So that way, that was a bit of a disappointment. You know what I mean? In every other respect, great, but you know. Then similarly, there was another car. Yes, again, I'm talking, you know, really great car. The Cadillac XT6, the new launch.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Last year, the XT4 was such a brilliant car. You know, after the first drive, we could, you know, kind of. I in fact wrote in the review that this is going to be an appropriate, right-sized, right put together, you know, well put together car that's going to be a hit, and it was. XT5 is already a hit. Now, XT6 has so much of more burden to handle this role of living up to the expectations.
To the expectations and hype.
Right. So XT6 again, like in comparison with its own siblings, could have done better in terms of the interiors and the refinement, the looking the Cadillac part and all that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it a bad car at all. It's a great car, which leaves us hoping if it would be greater, you know. So that is the.
I think I would like agree with you on the way you handled this, because if it's a bad product, they wouldn't put it out in the market to begin with. Like any company will put a product in the market because they feel this is a good or a perfect product to put out. But for us, when we compare, it's more of like, first of all, your expectation from the brand, your expectation from the price you see, the price tag you see on a car, and then you start judging. So it's not about like, there's nothing good or bad about a car. Again, it's a product put out by a huge company that decided by their engineers and designers and management to put out a product. So end of the day, when we compare, we're comparing to like the price, the expectation, and comparing to other competitors as well. So that's how you say this is bad or good.
Absolutely. And as you know, in fact, that reminds me of the credo I had set for myself when I started off, you know. So now, that was a time when I'd seen many reviewers or, you know, enthusiasts trashing cars, you know, just to gain attention, or, you know, to be sounding superior than the car. But, you know, my point always to people who do that, or even the car makers or buyers, is that here is a product that has taken billions of dollars of dirhams to, you know, to be made, and so many brains coming together. I wonder, I mean, am I telling the world that these guys are dumb? I mean, you know, there are some of the best brains who are, I mean, whether it's engineers or designers or whatever. Of course, there is a subjective element of people and the companies that are in the making, and probably it is not for everybody, like we discussed it a little earlier. You know, it probably is not a car for you. And again, human errors and flaws definitely do happen, but that doesn't warrant trashing an entire, you know, an effort, because it's human. It's like a pyramid. People have worked on it, you know. So, yeah.
It's nice you brought up Cadillac, actually, because I was going to bring up Cadillac in a different way. So I'm happy you brought up Cadillac. Do you want to tell us about your favorite car?
Well, again, my favorite car need not be the one in my garage.
What's in the garage? Tell us what's in the garage first.
Which is why we all have, you know, like, you know, our dreams and aspirations, and getting there, top of the thing. But the very reason that I have not sold my car in the garage for the last 13 years, 12, more than 12 years, is, of course, shows that I do love my car. But it is, yes, there is an emotional side to it, but more than that, there is a practical side to it. So people might be wondering, you know, what car is he talking about?
Let's tell people what it is first.
So, okay, it is a very, very rare car called the Cadillac BLS. So most of the guys probably wouldn't even have heard of it. And I think I'm probably one of the privileged owners in the UAE. I guess maybe there are 3 left, or maybe 5. It's rarer than the pagodas. You know? So anyway, so like Zaran will ask me to say, you know, tell him something about it. Now, this is a car. What makes it special? As you guys know, I mean, just for the sake of our viewers.
Before you start, did you buy it new?
I bought it new. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So 13 years ago.
13 years ago.
Wow.
It was our Christmas gift.
Nice.
So, you know, I mean, a few of those interesting interiors that really appealed to me was like, you know, it was, yeah. I like it. I like what I saw then. You know, gleaming wood, real wood. Just not too much of it, just a strip of it, you know, on the dashboard, on the door side trims, so nicely, you know, clad. Absolutely, I saw that this is class, analog, a little analog clock in the middle, you know, nice, and something which was pretty modern and contemporary in terms of texture. I didn't go for the leather one, so this was a fabric, and a fabric interior, really impressive. So. And to make this even more exotic was the fact that in the heart, actually pretty much not just heart, I remember one of the bushes when it came off, it had the brand name Saab on it. So Cadillac BLS is actually nothing but a Saab 93.
Okay.
So it is it is GM was known for the cross branding and engineering that was happening. So,
but nice. The Saab 93. That's a really rare car. Like
it is.
One of my relatives had one until it was in an accident. Unfortunately, it's a tough car, man. Tough car.
Oh, it is
very tough.
Okay, I shouldn't be, there are things I shouldn't be probably mentioning. So let me just put it this way. It has helped me get my brother to the Abu Dhabi airport and not miss his plane in a very affirmative, confident, reassuring way. So,
Yeah.
so that's all we need to. Yeah, how much should I pay for it? It's not a discussion point.
No, no, no.
In
It's
terms of
okay.
fines, but,
Let's talk about like something most people think about Cadillacs. How about the reliability? Like you had it for 13 years.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, as a Cadillac owner, I'm more of a GM owner than Cadillac owner, because this was again a Stab 93, and it was an engineering that they did for just 3 years. So, which is what makes it very rare, So, so 2007, 8, and 9 were the models that were available here. That's it. So the reason why I hold on to it is it's one of the earliest really well-made turbocharged cars.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-liter turbocharged engine, which it was so hard for my friends at that time to believe that it is actually a turbocharged engine.
To accept.
I mean, they said, no, this is a V6 and this is like 300 horsepower and all that.
Yeah. I'm sure they were like, how dare you buy a Cadillac with a turbo?
and it's quite fuel economy is good. And can you imagine another thing which they didn't quite get right in their ATS was in this car, my child was really small at that time. He wasn't born at the time when I bought the car, but we had a pram that we used to call. I mean, in fact, my reviews at that time used to mention the mother of all prams, right? So this mother of all prams would go fit into the boot of that car. So while later, the only reason why I said, I did not buy the ATS, or exchange this for ATS, was that the pram wouldn't fit it. So, so that way, it's actually it had everything that we wanted. Sort of.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it's a great car, but it's a good car, well balanced.
It's great for you. We can put it back into your own words.
As you said it. Seriously, you couldn't put it. You're totally right. So
let's conclude. Like we talked about the past now. Let's talk about like a little bit about the future. And everybody's talking electric cars, EVs and EVs. And I want to get like, we're trying to ask everyone we talk to about the same question. It's like, what do you think about the future of EVs, and are they really the future of like the automotive industry?
See, even during the COVID times, but for if you look at the latest slump, that's different. But if you look at how Tesla shares are performing against the others, I think that's a clear indication of what kind of a judgment or which side is being more encouraged by the audience, who's getting all the support. But that said, that alone, you can't just decide the success of a car or a brand or the direction an industry is taking, going only by the stock market. There are other hurdles that people hope that will be sorted out, and see, hurdles. That's the thing about hurdles. People are ingenious. They'll some way or the other find a way around it. I like the way Mercedes tackles this. When I asked this question when I was interviewing one of the senior executives of Mercedes, they had said, in fact, pointed out that, there are so many technologies at the moment, which they are also exploring. So for a while, it'll coexist. And probably many of them will not go away. I think so too, because, the infrastructural changes, of course, are so much necessary. And what is being built on, the trillions worth of, it cannot completely go away. At least it will take time. So for the next the clear indication from the authority side and the other factors also are, yes, definitely favoring electric cars with a reason, because we all want, especially the COVID times have shown us how good it is to breathe fresh air. So that way, yes, it's kind of really electric cars would make sense as well. So, but another good example, again, look at BMW i3. The range extenders of BMW i3. So you can get up to 100 kilometers extra while driving them, but because they have a gasoline reserve. Now, so is it really serving the purpose? I mean, is it really making a statement in favor of the electric cars? Well, it is. I would say it is not about being in favor or not, or is it against? It is the practical side of it currently. And it doesn't mean that it is, the electric cars are not taking off. They are very much in support with the other technologies. And it'll go on to these range anxieties are being tackled in so many innovative ways. Zaran would remember that, we were together in the electric vehicle road trip in the Middle East. And just to check out how these things work out in other parts of the world, I joined the EVRT in South Africa as well. So, last year end. And that is where, apart from the electric cars that you get to drive here, the Chevrolet Volt, the
Zoe,
Renault, the Renault
Zoe.
What?
Zoe.
The Renault Zoe, the Teslas. Apart from them, in South Africa, we got to drive the Jaguar I-Pace, the Nissan Leaf, the BMW i3. So it was a great combination and great experience. But what was even more impressive is how did they tackle the range anxiety? So more than the different cars we got to try there in South Africa, what really added more value to the learning was how they tackled the usually expected challenges. Like number one being range anxiety, especially, you don't really have a full-fledged network established there in terms of charging. So because the distances were quite long, they had arranged for a mobile charging station, which was pretty clever. So again, the EVRT had this experience of having conducted these drives in Middle East, in the Middle East and in Europe. So really, so this was very, very well planned. So when we would stop over on our way to Cape Town from Pretoria, this mobile van, this huge van with these huge installations, these charging stations would also be with us. So if there was a requirement, they would chip in. Now this is a good solution. So probably in the future, something like this, you can probably see these mobile charging stations flying, on the road, and which number, and if you're in trouble, just call them up, they'll come and charge you.
But these vans were running on fuel.
Yeah, of course. See, this is a great, we could call it the great electric paradox. So
yes,
yeah. So
they can't be charging themselves at the same time, right? They have to charge others. It is.
Hello, we are in trouble. Could you please? We're just helping ourselves. So as long as we're through, we'll be there. I know. So, for the time being,
but me and Zaran, we've tried. I'm not gonna name the car, but we've tried electric cars here in Dubai, and to tell you the truth, range anxiety and charging times were the biggest obstacle. And finding proper charging stations that work was a big obstacle for us. While just testing the car, I just had it for 3-5 days, and it was a hard time.
It's also the price, because it's a very high price to live with that inconvenience.
Right.
Yeah.
If it was,
exactly.
you'd say it's fine. I'll live with it. I'll deal with it. I'll figure a way out. But when you're paying premium, like it's really expensive. And then you're like, I pay more and I have to suffer more. It's like, it's not really worth it.
Here's the thing.
I understand what you mean.
And I want your opinion on this. For me, it's like it's a loop. So the loop starts with manufacturers. The price of the car is too high because they can't produce so many electric cars because they think there isn't any demand, right? So they produce them at a low volume,
right,
and the price is high. The next stop in the thing are people. People are not buying it because they say, oh, there's no infrastructure and charging is hard and the car is expensive. And then you come to governments, which is number 3 in that loop, which says, I'm not gonna put a lot of money and investment in the infrastructure if people aren't buying these cars and they're not on the road. So you're stuck in this loop. And for the loop to be broken, I think one of these parts should be brave enough. And I always say it's the manufacturers. They should be brave enough and just go ahead and start reducing the prices. What do you think?
See, Anas, you have a point there. Definitely the manufacturers got to take the lead. But from what I've heard from all these discussions in different cities of the world about how they are going about what are the problems they face, right from starting from Abu Dhabi, our e-mobility platforms and discussions to Muscat or Johannesburg. What is coming through is it definitely is a combined effort, like you pointed out, being while the manufacturers take a lead, or authorities, there could be bodies that facilitate this transition, who could take the lead, or they could serve as the facilitator, because these changes will have to be tackled. It cannot be in series, to use an electric term. It has to be parallel, because you need to have proper regulations, favorable regulations. Look at our how Dubai and UAE has supported electric cars. That's a good way. That's a good model where you are, government regulations and what do you call it, fees. Whether it's parking fees or renewals or all those, So there are elements where the government is showing support to them. That a government is encouraging towards the concept of electric cars is very important for manufacturers and the brands to invest in bringing those cars to that region. So that is while the confidence building and the facilitation happens with these bodies and the governments and authorities, yes, taking the lead forward would be done by the manufacturers by improving the possibility of the range, extending the range, bringing down the price, working on battery solutions. So these things, again, that is a simultaneous thing. And surprisingly, even the customer will have to kind of do a bit of a contribution in this one, because as they, this is a pain of being a pioneer, I call it. The pioneering pain. So if you, I go ahead and buy an electric car because I want to be one of those early guys who are going with the technology, and I'm willing to pay the 20% extra for it. But right now what is happening is it is not just the 20%. That is like, you actually, the price is a little steeper than what would bring more people into this. But that will change. And the range anxiety, again, though that is the price side of it. I guess, yeah, you have a point there, especially the manufacturer can do something. Like, for example, once a market becomes successful and sustainable, the benefits of that market should transfer to the other markets by bringing down the price barrier so that more people come in there. So it's a cycle, it's a give and take, it's an exchange. And till then, these the stories of these little woes will continue. For example, we have our own. my son and I, we were once while testing one of these cars. So we dropped, I dropped my wife and I was coming back. Suddenly found that there was 22, 19, 17, 13 kilometers left. And the nearest is, I think it was the Dubai Festival City where there was one charging station inside.
Charger.
So, yeah. So, now listen to this. Jubilantly, I reach outside, very carefully manage. And so I try to find where the parking is and we know where the thing is, the charging station is. So we come out, oh yeah, great. So we've reached the parking. So go on to the first level. And now there is 1 kilometer of range left. So 1 or 2, whatever. And now I look at it. After reaching there, I realize that it's in the second level, in the lower level. To get there, I have to go around the ramp all the way to the station there. And I have no guarantee that this will work out. So I park the car. We then go all the way around, and we were lucky. We realized that there was an exit just very next to where we had parked the car, which would take us down. Otherwise, so these woes, but this is a tale I will tell people once these things are solved, like we are sharing it here, probably over a cup of coffee, while chatting up with the olden times when electric cars were novel. So this is what we experience, sort of a thing. So, that is the basic trend of all these things, being a pioneer. You will have stories to tell. So that's the most positive way to look at the field at the moment.
It's a work in progress. I think that's something we can all.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna miss engine sounds by then.
Well, I remember what Fisker had. I mean, in fact, many of these guys, what they're doing is they're fitting in
some sounds,
additional sound, right? Yeah. So you'll probably
we complain when we get boosted sounds through the speakers now. Imagine then.
I know. I only hope that they don't offer you, you can, somebody loves riding a horse, you can choose the sound of a horse.
The sound of a horse.
Totally misleading.
Yeah, it'll be normal. It'll be normal.
On the way, So,
anyway, Sudeep, this has been wonderful. Thank you very, very much. We definitely enjoyed it. Hope you did.
Zaran and Anas, it has been such a pleasure. I mean, I would say thank you so much for initiating this. This is a great way to come together among us and also with our listeners, I'm saying. But,
viewers. Radio guy, the radio guy. Yeah.
So our viewers, that's also great.
Thank you so much, Sudeep. Thank you. Hopefully we can do this again soon, but maybe outside with a car.
Yeah, why not? Of course.
Yes.
I hope the award season begins soon. Too.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And as usual, guys, so stay home, stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
And I spoke for me as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.